everybody, Julia and Suze talking
Hello.
about the missing ingredient. This is part two, isn't it?
It is part two of our wonderful new series, and
Absolutely.
we are today talking about tech hopelessness. So we're going to be a bit harsh on you guys today. Sorry, but you know me. I mean, if you've watched the A to Zs that we've done previously, how much I'm around data, um, and using IT well, and building good data, and having data available across the business to make good strategic um, decisions and good planning for supporting good planning for governance of the business. And we see certain trends with some of you guys, not all of you. Some of you
Some
have
people are absolutely marvelous and have got
yeah.
it completely sorted.
So this is not
But
you. You can
actually,
just
within skills and employability, if you're looking at the use of tech within the sector, it very much mimics the use of tech generally within the economy. So
mhm,
you've got some people who are right at the front end, who are on the cutting edge
yeah,
of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and it is glorious, gorgeous, and
yeah,
marvelous. And then there's a really long tail. Some of that tail is created by the leaders and managers within that business. And we talked before about that lack of IT confidence. And if, as a manager or a leader, you are not confident in how to make a good decision, then you're paralyzed.
yeah.
Not making a decision, not committing to spending a lot of money on tech actually is not irrational when you don't have the skills and the ability and the language to make a good decision. There are also an awful lot of providers that we see, particularly with devolution of contracts, where systems and ways of working are being imposed that are not technical ones. So you meet so many people who are having to run big chunks of provision on paper because that's convenient to the people that they're contracting with.
Yeah, and
Um,
and also because of course, for everybody, we all know this. So for everybody in the industry, the most important bit of data you're going to have is your claim data, right?
yeah,
It doesn't matter where your employability or your skills. The most important thing for
it's all
anybody
about
is
the money.
we need the money. We need the money to pay the rent, pay the mortgages of the staff, and all of those different things that all businesses need to make sure their cash flow. So generally speaking, the most important bit of data management in the business is the claims management. And that, of course, is really, really important, but it's not the only thing. So when you've got claims management and you've got your PFR coming through, and that's sitting with finance or with an administration team, just looking at the financial reconciliation of what's coming into the business and judging performance purely on cash, then you are never going to be able to maximize cash value of contract because you're not looking at the right things in the right way.
But the biggest mistake that we see people make, and we see this so many times, is that siloed
Yeah.
working.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the MIS team, you have the finance team. They probably do talk.
Yeah.
It's all about the claim, getting the claim out the building. Brilliant. You then have the ops side of the business, the business part of the business that actually earns the money. Just saying, it's not all about
Yeah.
finance. I know that you'd like it to be, but actually the what and knowing what is going on the ground, which learners are moving, which learners aren't moving, who should have left the building, who's joined, who's finished, all of this stuff, all of this, what is actually happeningness. You so often see siloed working between those two teams.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting as well is there is a resistance with some leaders that we work with where that transparency of the income coming in because of the decisions being made in operations is not clear. So people are making decisions operationally because of this siloed working without any understanding of the impact of what that looks like for income for the business. So,
Yeah.
because it's important,
But you also see operations people making decisions. This learner is no longer in training.
Yeah.
All right, then, maybe yes, maybe no. We can argue about that one, but that information is not necessarily being actioned efficiently by the claims team
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Either because actually we're trying to maximize the claim, or we've just been inefficient, or we haven't followed the process, or we're in a bad mood. You know, let's face it, we've all been there, done that, got that t-shirt. And so you can end up with learners staying on the claim who shouldn't be on the claim. Equally, at the start of training, you can end up with learners being taken into training and not being on the claim. So we're starting work, or that there's a delay in taking a learner into training and they're on the claim. And because of this lack of communication,
And not just communication, but lack of data systems talking to each other well. Because, I mean, back in the day when Julia and I were working together, she was CEO, I was ops director of a large national training provider. And as ops director, I took control of the claim, because it wasn't just about the MIS system making sure that the data was clean. It was also about making sure all the data was on it. And that was then data from different areas of the business that's not the ILR, right? But can find out why there isn't an ILR if it's done well. And then those systems would talk to each other so we could maximize the value of the claim in the right way, because learners were exiting in the right way so that you weren't having to pay back thousands of pounds later down the line. And learners were starting and learners were completing, and completions were being claimed in the month that completions were taking place.
But also with learners starting, and we're going to be talking about this later in the series, the time when you have maximum power over a learner to complete all that tedious bureaucracy, and it is tedious, is before you've taken them into training.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they have started and they're on the claim and they've started in learning, they're not going to comply with filling in a whole bunch of tedious forms and signing their name in 37 different places.
And the same with the employer signatures, right?
Exactly.
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
I always used to say that the business that we ran was a bureaucracy machine. It was all about maximizing the claim. Training was a happy byproduct that we got to do on a good day. But actually, your entire business has to be about managing this bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're being paid to do.
Absolutely.
As well as train people. And the training people bit was the bit that I loved.
Well, the training people bit was the bit that we're all in the game for. But to be able to do training well in a high quality way, you have to manage your data systems and claim well.
And in order to maximize profitability, and whether or not you are for profit or not for profit, you have got to make a surplus.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. Otherwise, you're going to fall over. You're going to go out of business. Yeah. You've got to maximize profitability. That cannot be about how can we cut corners and do it as cheap as possible. It's got to be about how can we do this as well as possible.
Yes.
How can we make this good? And data helps you make it good. So, from an audit and a claim and all this bureaucracy perspective, you have to have an ILR, you have to have an ILP, you have to do progress reviews, you have to have signatures, you've got to do about 20 different eligibility checks, you've got to do initial assessments, but assorted different things. There's no ifs, no buts, no maybes, you have to do it. So the question you have to ask yourself in assessing your tech numptiness as a leader, which is what we're talking about today, is how easy is it for you to know whether every single one of your learners that's been in training with you over the last 2 years, you've covered all of that eligibility and compliance stuff? And if you can't answer a hell yes, got it sorted, feeling smug, because I'm all over it like a rash as a leader, then you're in the tech numpty scale, because it is a solvable problem. And it's a problem that you need to solve, because you will generate so much from fixing that problem.
Yeah, and also it's about managing risk. about managing risk of financial harm. It's about managing risk of contract reputation. It's about managing risk around external partners engaging with your business and being getting a good service from you. Because if you're managing that well, that fundamental part of how you get cash into the business and get cash coming, staying in the business and helping you improve your business, then actually having that non-siloed approach to working to deliver is tech transformational if you do it well. And I want to say again and reinforce what Julia is saying. This is not just about tech for the sake of tech.
No.
And this is the theme throughout everything we're doing in this series. This is about looking at productivity, efficiency savings, profitability, and increasing EBITDA. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, if you get this done well, the investment in terms of looking at and managing your data processes across the business to make sure they speak to each other well, and you're getting the data you need to manage good cash, not any cash, because it's very easy to put a claim in. It's not so easy to let it stand up to order if you haven't got your foot on that pedal all of the time. So it's a good investment in the future growth of your business. And as we see with devolution coming down the line, and there'll be so many different systems out there, any ASF, I should say, not AEB, every ASF contract is going to have a different funding platform for you to put your ILR into. We know this. It's going to be sort of like bedlam, but fun bedlam at the same time. You're going to have to be thinking about how do those systems talk to each other and talk to each other well in terms of financial management of claim and in terms of operational delivery and operational decision making about what's going on the ground. So
it's about having the right people have the right tools to be able to answer the right questions. Absolutely. If that's something that resonates with you, please get in touch because we would love to talk to you. Thank you very much. Speak to you next week.